The generals also asked for another envoy to be sent to Washington. The Prime Minister agreed.
He said, "Listen, Meir, you go to Washington and find out what's going on there. Are the Americans organizing a naval task force? Is anybody going to do anything? When?"
Amit's mission was to see if the Americans planned to open the Straits of Tiran, or if Israel would have to act alone.
The Pentagon had quite enough trouble in Vietnam and didn't want another war.
The director of the CIA made it perfectly clear. There is no international naval force. There are no American plans for action. There is no task force.
So the head of the Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency, called on the Secretary of Defense.
I said to him, "You know our situation. I am here on the instruction of my Prime Minister."
He was doing most of the talking. I did ask one or two questions.
At the meeting, I realized that America, because of Vietnam, was unwilling to act alone, and they did not succeed in organizing the international naval force. Also, Eisenhower made a commitment to Israel about the Straits in 1956, so America would no longer oppose Israel acting on its own.
I was friendly during my discussion and friendly as he left, but he didn't ask for answers, he got no answers.
Amit raced back to Israel to report to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet not to expect international help.
I gave a detailed account of my trip to Washington, and I said, "I recommend we launch the war as soon as possible." Not one of the ministers disagreed.
We went for our usual walk. Suddenly, Eshkol starts humming. He was completely tone deaf. He had this Hasidic song he liked to sing. He sang it over and over again. The rabbi has told us to enjoy ourselves because hard times are coming. So I asked him, "What's happening, dearest?" And he told me tomorrow the war will start. There will be widows. There will be orphans. There will be bereaved parents. Who knows what tomorrow will bring?
The generals chose the morning of June 5th for the attack.
The Chief of Staff and I took a decision. On the night of June 4th, we would sleep at home. The tom-toms in Israel work like in the jungle. If the Chief of Staff and Air Force Chief both come home, word gets round that tomorrow is going to be quiet. That was the commander's bedtime message.
Leaving behind only 12 fighters to defend Israel, 180 aircraft took off for Egypt. Their target was 45 minutes away.
We observed total radio silence. We flew at the height of the waves for about 15 minutes. We flew low over the sand dunes. We crossed the Suez Canal at Kantara and entered the delta. As we flew over the delta, farmers waved to us. They probably thought we were Egyptian.
Most of the Israeli squadrons flew out to sea far to the west. They had extra fuel tanks to enable them to approach Egypt's air bases from an unexpected direction.
That was the longest 45 minutes in my life. The hands on my watch didn't seem to move. They went very slowly.
As the Israeli bombers approached their targets, the Egyptians received a coded message from Jordan.
They spotted Israeli planes heading towards us. So they sent us a signal from their radar base to warn us. The signal was in code. Our codes had changed the day before, and we had real trouble decoding it.
The Ministry of Defense asked the air defense people what they had done with the signal they had received. It had the code word, grape. They replied, "What signal?"
At exactly 07:45, we pulled up to 6,000 feet. I looked down and saw the MiGs glinting on the edges of the runway. The pilots were sitting inside the cockpits. I knew we had caught them by surprise.
The Israelis began their attack by destroying the runways to prevent the Egyptian aircraft from taking off. The few that did get off the ground were no match for the Israeli fighters.
I got a call from one of the Air Force chiefs. He said, "Nofel, Nofel." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Our airfields are being attacked." I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He said, "Our airfields are being attacked." I said, "Our airfields?" He said, "The airfields in the Sinai are being attacked." I said, "All the Sinai airfields? Tell me it's not true." And he said, "Believe me, all the airfields are being attacked." I hung up. The phone rang again. It was another commander. He said, "We're being attacked." So I said to myself, well, something must be going on. But I was all alone.
He was alone because the head of the Egyptian armed forces, Marshal Amer, had left with the Minister of War and his top brass to inspect their positions in the Sinai.
10 minutes after takeoff, we heard about the Israeli attack. We turned round and flew back. Our cars had gone. We had to hail a taxi to get back to headquarters.
By the time Marshal Amer's taxi got him back to headquarters, Egypt's Air Force was destroyed.
Marshal Amer was panicking. He told the Air Force chief to implement the counterattack plan. The Air Force chief replied, "How can I? I have no aircraft."
In the Sinai, Egypt had 3 times as many tanks as Israel, but with no air cover, their situation was dire.